Alright, so this is Under the Hood Day 2. We did the game menu yesterday. We saw lots of common parts like the panels, and we came to the second scene, which is the pre-test, the introduction scene. Uh, Usually we have, I'm sorry, this is the screen view. So Dr. Bodzin usually asks us about this. So Dr. Bodzin, I don't know if I did.
Crossfade.
Yeah.
Crossfade.
So this is extra, by the way, because that's just like a transition between scenes.
Yep.
Uh, Game mechanics is where everything was being held, like the main system scripts, la la la. Sphere loader, here it's empty, so we need to clean that up. Event systems is necessary in all the projects that need to interact with interface, main camera. In
All right. So
Watershed,
when you say the sphere loader needs to be cleaned up, what exactly do you mean?
because when you click here,
Yeah.
there is nothing. So there is nothing here.
So what should be there?
By the name,
You would
this
think
is
it.
the game object that is supposed to be controlling loading sphere, like loading the scenes. But if it's not here, it's because it's been moved somewhere else to another script or to another game object. We will be finding that eventually, and once we find, we know that we can remove this one.
All right. So let's see. I'm gonna have to just pull up today's notes so that we try to make sure. So today's the 8th, right?
Yes.
That's right. So all right. So that
It's under game
game
mechanics.
mechanics sphere loader. GA mechanics, right?
So, in Watershed Explorer's desktop version, we needed to have a script called look around. And this script look around lives under the main camera. Currently in this scene, this script is disabled because we didn't want people to like be looking around inside a room in the introduction of the game. So we disabled that.
All right. So if I, where's the best place for me to take notes for like to do things? Is it on our like planning note document or within the work log? Right? I think the work log probably isn't the best place because that's really the
Yeah.
place where you all do stuff. So I'm gonna take that out of there.
I mean,
So we have
we can make one.
Yeah, okay.
Wait, what? What?
I don't want to. I'm trying to capture things that need to get done. Like
You can use the work log because we are working together with them. So we put the notes there, and it's easier for them to be checking those boxes
Okay.
off.
all right. So
Shows off.
maybe what I'll do is I'll highlight things as things that need to be getting taken care of here. I might just do a little attention.
So we can say also that it was you.
How do you do that line, Junior?
Insert horizontal line.
Okay.
A and B, Bodzin. So this is you talking. And down below there will be John and Juan. John, did you write this how to use MetaQuest today?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm
So,
gonna do
so
it.
my intent here, just well, I just a lot of times we have our meetings. We have sort of a to-do list. We keep track of stuff, and so what I'm going to do is because you all seem to be doing great with this work log, so I'll just and then when you get it resolved, just un
Yeah.
take the highlights off. I think that might will
Sounds
that work.
good.
You think?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, so once we're done for like, do we just delete or what do we just like highlight it?
Say that again.
Wait, so what do we do like once they're done with the task?
When
delete
it's
or-
done, just say done
Done and
exclamation and then
unhighlighted.
just unhighlight it. That's
Yeah.
all. Just so that
Okay,
it's
got it.
done. There's so much stuff in there. I just don't want
Yeah.
it to get buried and
No worries.
lost. Yeah.
I was thinking about this under the hood process, and before we get into the nitty gritty, I'm gonna be clicking the main levels and saying what they do and what for,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can go into the details of aspects we haven't visited yet. So I was saying that the main camera in this desktop version, we have this script called look around. That's what allows us to click, hold the mouse, and do like this to look around the photosphere. This look around is actually you're moving the camera, rotating the camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the game, sometimes in the scripts, we froze this movement because we didn't want people to be looking around when the avatar was speaking, right? Uh, for example, this is an instance of these moments. They are speaking, so the dialog box is in the center of the screen, this desktop VR. So it's deactivated here, right? If this was enabled while they are speaking, if someone clicked and dragged, they would do like this with the camera, and they would read nothing, and they might get stuck. So in desktop VR, we have this all the time. In headset VR, we don't need this look around script, and this is one of the things we are cleaning already in the code. Some references to this look around. We don't need the look around reference because the head is the look around already. And how do we control, so to speak, where the user is looking at or not? With those two UI strategies, the follow the head or putting a 3D canvas in a specific location and using an arrow to direct their attention to that place.
And that's why it's unchecked.
Here, it's unchecked because it's like text,
Yeah.
dialogue. There's nothing
Yeah.
for them to look around here.
Gotcha.
But for example, in the VR version, they will be able to look around in this room.
Yep.
So in the tutorial, differently from the desktop version, at the end of this conversation, Len is gonna call the user to exit this door. So they will have to look back based on what you said, and then you see the first floating arrow icon. So they are already learning how to interact, and then you go out. So this look around stuff, clicking, floating things. Since the game menu, they will be learning about that already.
Gotcha.
All right, and I just want to clarify. So you said that script, that component that's there in the VR version, that component wouldn't need to be included.
No, yes, no.
Okay.
Because this script controls mouse, and in VR we don't have a mouse. And the camera is also different from the VR in desktop.
So in the photospheres itself, that look around script needs to be checked and activated, right?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
Initially, because the first thing that happens is the narration. So it starts unchecked. But then, after the narration ends, when we click close in the dialogue, we enable that so they can look around again. So it's been like this
Okay.
in the 29 scenes from the full version. So something that I'm gonna see here with you is like this is under the hood because what I should explore is this 2D, but it's a 2D going to 3D because the environment is 360. So the first thing ever that I and Beige did was to create a system that what helped us to orient ourselves because once the photosphere is used as the skybox, like you don't know where is north, left, or right. So we have a plane here, and we also had a sphere to do some tests. Something that is going to happen a lot in the other scenes when we start going there is that I build up walls on these four corners, and then I put them in different colors like red, blue, white, and green. And then why is that? Because for you to be able to allow the person in desktop VR to look around and be able to click safely, you need to keep track of this, like where is top, where is bottom, where is right and left, right? This will be helpful for us in VR as well, because although we can do like this, but where do we put the 2D button in this the free space, right?
Yeah.
So these are just like 2D hangers. Like in this scene, we don't have any, but in all the other scenes, you see that we have like, I call this load space canvas, I guess. But we don't have a load space canvas in this scene. We just have a normal canvas, which is where the dialogue is happening. And we have an on-screen help canvas that everything that is extra help that pops up on the screen, it's under this on-screen help, because in the options, you can say, I don't want to have on-screen help. So we disable all of this here with one click, and then there's no extra support. But if the player goes back there and say, oh, I want on-screen help, and they click yes, you enable this, and all the functionality comes back to life. Let me go back to 2D because this is weird. Yes. We don't have anything in Audio Manager here because it was a placeholder, but we didn't reach this level of using audio through all the development of Watershed Explorers. There's lots of placeholders. The only sound that we have is in the transition, because the transition has the audio of the water flowing under the kayak. So it is here because it's part of the game mechanics organizer. And again, game mechanics is present in all the scenes because they hold the systems, like the interaction system in the event system, the camera, so the visualization system can work, the audio manager for whatever sound or you want to make it work, right? And also the one that we deactivated, the fading effect between scenes, which is the crossfade, like that when we start working, we can disable. Dr. Bodin, this is for you to level up. We leveled up this week with this. Like, at some point, I don't know when, Unity created this left side here of the hierarchy. So, whenever you want to hide things that are blocking your view in the scene view, like the crossfade, you can click this eye. So, you disable that. This eye disables only the element in the scene view, but if you go back to the game view, it's going to be black. So the game view renders everything regardless. But if you are in scene view and you are like tweaking the details, if you want to remove something from the front of your face, you click these eyes here. If I want to say, oh, I'm done doing some tweaks, I go back and click again to like see the disturbing element once again. So for now, we're going to be checking the details of the scene. We can hide
I guess it's
the crossfade.
all right. So like, take a
In
look at
yours, you
one.
might have been, you might have disabled the
So if
crossfade.
if I check
Yeah.
crossfade on, right, but then so is the idea if I click here, I should be able to remove it from here. Is that what you're doing? That's not happening for me. So if I have the crossfade here checked,
Yes.
but then here I put it like not to
But
show.
you are still in game view.
Ah,
So
I have to
with
be in the
these
scene.
eyes is to help us in development mode, in the scene mode.
mode. Got it. Okay.
Another thing that you should do here is to click 2D because we are doing desktop. So it's totally 2D. Click twice
When I
now in the
clicked here,
canvas.
I am
Now it's 2D.
So how did I get from 3D? Where should I put?
So when it's pressed, it's 2D. When you click again, it goes back to 3D. You know that because this gizmo appears. Click
got
again. So this is now 2D,
it. Right.
right?
And now I click here, and now I
3D.
get the 3D. Got it.
So we are doing canvas. So if you click 2D, and then you're seeing, oh my gosh, where's my canvas? You know that one piece is here.
Yep.
So if you click twice in the canvas, it's going to center the canvas for you in the screen. And then you can scroll in to get closer,
Gotcha.
right? Alrighty. So 360 video controller. This is something that was added here to control the 360 videos when they were used, but they are not used anymore in desktop VR version because it's too heavy. But
Get rid of it?
we don't need to delete it because it's a system that is working. It's just not being used.
Okay.
This image, that's a bad practice from the past, and I totally say that Junior from the past was a noob. It's not helpful to have some objects named like image,
What? What image?
and then like whenever, for example, if you type here in the search bar image, look how many
Oh my
game
god,
objects
that's a
have
lot.
image. And this is also another issue, like how many backgrounds we have. So which background is which? So we always need to be careful to make sure that we are naming the game objects meaningfully. So what I started doing, and I even shared with Dr. Bosing the other day, is we put in between parentheses the type of game object it is. For example, this is an image, but what is this image from? This is the shader of the crossfade. Let me activate it again. So look how bad this nomenclature is. Image, parent, image, child. So this image, I know it's the banner because it's here in the inspector, but I should have this better renamed here. Unity is not going to allow me to change stuff. I need to check. Ah, it's a prefab. Oh, we did. Great. Okay. So this is like logo, banner, and then we say image. And this one should be fade background image. Ta-da! Now we
Alright.
know what we are talking about here. This is
Uh,
the fade background.
All right. So do you want this to be as part of the to do on the to do checklist?
This is just like that one low. Optimize script code as needed. Optimize hierarchy nomenclature as needed and as possible.
Right. But what you just said, Junior, though, was you have a zillion things that throughout that are called images, right?
Yeah, but like,
I'm just paraphrasing what you told me.
yes,
Okay. So there's a lot of things called image, which isn't informative, right?
yes.
And as Quan and Jen are going through this, it would probably make sense that as they're exploring and getting the feel, when they see something that's called image, to give it a more
Not only
descriptive
image,
term.
anything, any
All right.
game object, try to make it more meaningful. Because once you are developing like and you are under like this very deep uh, layers of the hierarchy, like for example, text of the type Text Mesh Pro (TMP). We know it's Text Mesh Pro, but what is this text about? Do I always have to click this game object to see that this is the text for you can advance now? So I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. This is something that is nice to do to improve the structure of the game.
Wait, what's the text match pro and canvas? So, wait, no.
Oh, it's going to be everywhere. And there is even more.
Okay.
There will be moments that the canvas is using normal text, which is the native text
Yeah.
component, and not sometimes Text Mesh Pro. Because sometimes you don't need to have like lots of colors or edits on the text font. So you use native text to quick like, you know. But sometimes you do need to have a very elaborate text, colorful to,
Mhm.
and then you have to use Text Mesh Pro. Why is that important? Because when you are in code, you need to call the correct library, like the namespace, right? Using Unity text or Unity UI or using Unity Engine Text Mesh Pro. Because if you try to do something there without calling the namespace first, you will not be able to go, right?
Yeah.
Let's continue. This is the fade. I'm hiding this because we don't want to see that. So we went through the game mechanics for this scene. Canvas. Desktop desktop VR. It's an overlay, so it's on top of the camera on the screen all the time. We don't need to choose any camera. This the types of cameras here. Um, then we have location panel. It's the one on the top. Usually during the exploration is in the bottom at the bottom part.
Mm-hmm.
But here because we have them like standing on the ground and like lots of text, that this needed to go back upwards. We also have a. I'm sorry. Let me just show this. This location is a prefab. You can see only the parent,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these elements they can be changed accordingly every
Mm-hmm.
scene. In the desktop VR version, we have this geo context, which is like some details of where we are looking at. Dr. Bodzi and I started talking about that. We might hide that for the VR version if it's problematic. For now, we are not using that. But for the full version desktop and the mini version desktop, we can activate that. Narration game object, it's where it's holding all the dialogues and text. So I stopped here yesterday. The default color was the default color because in the very beginning, 4 years ago, we were considering having different color modes like high contrast, standard color, and the DML color palette. But we are not that at that stage yet. But
Mm-hmm.
it's already prepared to have, like, if we want to do another color system, the easiest way would be like uh, duplicating this and changing the colors.
Yeah.
The second way would be changing all the element colors in via code, but then it would be a
Mm-hmm.
lot of coding overhaul. This tablet here is hidden because it's only shown when Mira talks about it. Where is that? There you go. So Mira says, "Oh, we have mobile technology to
Oh.
assist you." So then it appears on the
Mm-hmm.
top of the screen while they're speaking.
It appears um, via like the code, like the code tells it to appear.
That's a good question. I don't remember if it's code or if it was via inspector.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you will see that sometimes we have code because we were able to code. Sometimes there is lots of on-click events, on-trigger events. But having lots of on-trigger events for you to drag and drop, it's manual work, right? So if you notice that you can simplify something via code, go for it. But
Mm-hmm.
we will have always to make this decision. I don't have to redo everything. I just need to make easy fixes, easy improvements. So it's up to us to decide whether we can make an easy improvement or not.
Can you show where that tablet was again?
It's under narration.
Narration.
Yeah. Under canvas, narration, tablet.
Oh, I see.
So the holder for the dialogue, we have the avatars where we house all like Bella, Mira, Laney, and Lance. Each one of them they have like four, which is for foreground and back for background, because sometimes, for example, if I hit play, Della is the first one who speaks.
Yeah.
So when we start the scene, Della is enabled in the forefront, like the foreground, and the other three goes to background. Look at that.
Hmm.
Actually, this one was disabled because at the
Okay.
beginning, Della was alone, and then
Yeah.
as we advance, Della introduces like them. So
Yeah.
the first one is going to be Lane, and then we will enable Lane's foreground. And Della is not speaking anymore, so we switch to Bella background.
Mm-hmm.
She's in background, and Lane is speaking. Then after Lane ends, she's going to talk, introduce another one, which is Lance. And then Lance is enabled and activated in the foreground. Where is Lance? Here. And that Eleni also goes to the background.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever they are together, we have to use this system of foreground and background to help the user capture like who is talking to me. It's the person who is highlighted, so to speak, in the foreground. Mm, so these are just the avatar sprites, the 2D images. Names has a similar system for each one, NPC name and NPC title, which is housed here on the top of the dialog box. So NPC title and uh, NPC title and NPC name. This is bad and noob programming because we can do this by only having one game object, and we modify the text of the title, and we text the text of the name of the avatar and the text of the title via code. But this was the way it came to life. It's not creating any problems for the other systems so far, so there's not need to change anything unless there is extra time.
Mhm.
This system here uh, is something that I created to help us do the automatic adjustments of the dialog boxes. Sometimes the text goes longer and then it needs to expand, right? So every time we have a dialog box or a panel with like pictures or whatever that
Mhm.
even the credits page,
Yeah.
we have been using the expandable text box because it's easier. It automatically fits everything as you add or as you delete. You don't have to do it manually anymore.
Also, quick question: what's like the dates next to the node names,
Oh,
like the November and
mhm.
stuff?
This was in 2020 during the pandemic. So whenever Deiji and I
Mm-hmm.
improved a prefab, we put the date so that we knew that was the most recent one. But that is not the best way of doing that because when you see the prefab folder, we have lots. Where is that? Lots of prefabs, and because that's clearly we didn't know how to use prefab yet, and I still don't. I'm not a master of prefab because it's a two-edged sword.
Yeah,
It's
I agree.
helpful, but you can lose everything if you do something wrong.
Yeah.
But I haven't given up yet. I will do it one day.
So like just you have let's say crossfade November 30, December or something, and then one below it says crossfade November 30. So it's like one of those a duplicate now.
Yeah, I would say that this one is the original one, and this one is the latest iteration.
So this
And then
is
it's weird because like here, we are not using the latest iteration because in this scene it was working. So
Wait, so should we like rename them on the scene, or should we just like keep them like keep the full name of the prefab?
what I anticipate happening is that once we finalize
Mm-hmm.
uh, testing the game, we will see what prefabs are being used in each scene, and if they are not listed here, we delete them, and then we check if we broke something.
Okay.
There is a process for deleting prefabs safely. We can get to that when we
Okay.
start doing that.
I mean, like just
okay.
renaming them in the scene. So.
Sometimes remaining prefabs are problematic because they are powerful. Sometimes renaming the prefab causes an issue because some codes instantiate prefabs by name. And then if you change the name of the prefab in your asset project folder, the code will be broken
Oh.
because the string is not the same anymore.
Mm.
Right. Shit, I'm gonna control C on that.
You don't have too many of those. There's maybe four that have duplicates and names with different dates.
And
Um,
again, this is also something that like Jessica and Kavya can help us with.
Yep.
okay.
Jessica is a powerhouse of doing this kind of conferences for like the 2 last years.
Yeah.
Look, another thing that it's very not here. Yeah. Okay. The dialogue just to end. One way of making sure that the dialogue box doesn't get crazy because we are using these layout groups and layout elements. These components they force the UI to be organized according to some variables, padding or spacing in between them, center, alignment, whatever. But then what did I do here? I created two text background boxes, one to house the dialogue and another one to house only the buttons because the buttons appear at the bottom part. For example, if I want to continue the text here, this piece here, there is an invisible text box that shows only different types of buttons. Another thing that it could be helpful if it's giving trouble. Look, I have a button for Della continue, Della close, mirror continue, mirror close. This is noob's work. We didn't know how to program yet. So we created game objects for every single thing that happened. And it was very painful. But we made it work. Thank you, Beiji, a lot for your patience and help, extreme help. Uh, but I would advise the same thing. If it's not being like a pain in the neck for other systems, don't change it.
Okay.
If you notice that you are losing a lot of time refixing the connections between the references, then you might consider updating the project. I'm going to show you one example that I updated some scripts because it was ridiculous. Like the script had 1,000 lines, so there was no loops being used. It was crazy. So I improved those, and these are much smaller than those other ones. But again, this narration game object is in every scene because it's where we are communicating with the player. This game object here, empty, is a shenanigan, like a contraption that we use to uh, satisfy some scripts need. Oh, I need a game object of the type image. So you come here and you put an image in this empty stuff, and then you disable the image. So in the rendering, there is nothing, but the game object empty has an image component, so you would be able to satisfy the code, and it wouldn't break you with like no reference error, which is the most common issue that we face when we develop stuff.
Was it just a warning or was it like a compilation error?
It's sometimes it becomes a compilation error because that game object and that component is needed to make another thing work. So you need to have that as a bridge. So you'll be seeing empty very often. Finally, we have on-screen help canvas. Everything, like for example, in desktop VR, we just put on the top of the face like click to look around. Yay! So it's one game object in another overlay space screen. So whenever the avatar said, don't forget to click to look around, we enable this. And then it shows to support whatever the avatar is saying. One that is easy, it's when Lenny, you are finished the exploration, Lenny. You are ready to move on. Answer the question now. So it's called Lenny question. You open here, and then Lenny, this is a very old version, by the way. Lenny appeared or Dell appeared on the corner and said something in the bottom. Um, Nowadays, we are using the top part of the screen to give these helpful things. Let me see. This one. So this is the new version. It's standard. It's the same size. It's the same size, font size, color, and we just change the avatar sprite. So I think we should deal with this when we are talking about on-screen help canvas and focus now on the pre-test functionality. So just to recap, this scene starts the game, like introduction, they introduce the avatars, but while we are doing research, we also need to do data collection. There is a lane here that I don't want to do. So I created another canvas, which is called measure canvas. And then when the measure or the data collection is happening, I disable the narration canvas on the location panel. Actually, I disable the entire canvas here.
Yeah.
Because it's another canvas on the same level of the hierarchy, right? And then here, I'm sorry. Okay, here. That was for my project last year. I had one sub item for watershed literacy measure, and then I had Mira, avatar, the tablet structure, Let me go to the scene view. Touch area. So I added a raycast target only here, so they could only interact with the questionnaire on the tablet screen. And whenever they were ready to do something like return, this button appeared. I think this is prototypical. It's not like that anymore. And full screen was just to test, so this we might be able to remove. Panel, what is this?
How'd you get that motion? Got the display again. You're in
Measure canvas.
measure canvas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I disabled the canvas
Oh,
with
so the
another.
canvas has to be disabled.
Yeah.
It has to be not just
Because like if you don't disable the canvas, it's gonna be
Right.
rendering the other one in the back part. So when we are doing desktop VR, we have to
What am I
select.
doing wrong here, Quan? I got the canvas so that it's like the canvas. See, it's
just-
unchecked. I've got it unchecked. All right.
Yeah,
And
just
measure
enable
canvas.
that.
I got to enable it. Got it. All right.
Yeah, okay, nice.
Perfect. Okay.
So panel, where is that? This is where I put the scroll view to move things up and down. So instead of being like scroll viewport, I always change the name like to journal viewport or gallery viewport or glossary viewport, depending on the type of things that we are showing on the screen. Okay. The second one here, it's just to house the objects that compose the scroll bars. In this case, we only have vertical scroll bars. So I'm going to show you here that I disabled. Actually, I even deleted on the original prefab the horizontal one because we don't have any. So it's only a vertical scroll bar. When we are dealing with scroll viewports, the most important part is the viewport because it's the area where the content's gonna be. And again, I added an expandable text box container because look how big this survey is. But I needed to mask it inside this screen. So you start the like the organization with an expandable container so that everything that you add below it's going to be expanding that without causing you issues. So let me see if I remove the mask. Where is the mask? Viewport mask here. You can see the entire script. No, I'm sorry, survey. So this is the header. This is the header. Oh, it's a duplicate one. So I just hid it. Label A, check true or false for each statement. Let's see if we have here. We have an image up, text in the middle, image down to separate the header. Then for each item, we have the same structure. We have text, which is the prompt, image, which is the bottom separator. I have a toggle for true, toggle for false. And then after I did the first one, I changed the size, I changed the colors or whatever. I duplicated one, two, three, four, and it was growing. And then I only changed the text.
Yeah.
Right. So we have video tutorials about that because Dr. Bodzi and I made a recent one on how to create surveys in our games.
Yeah.
So this action of disabling the mask helps us during development because we don't have access to everything. And then I want to see what's wrong or whatever. But come to the viewport where the mask is and disable that. And once you're ready, enable it again. So once everything is answered, I put a check because in the last label, label C, it says, please answer each question, thank you. This has a script somewhere over the rainbow, I don't remember, that I don't remember where the script is. We will see somehow that it checks if all these toggles they have been checked.
Uh-huh.
So the only time that this message becomes a button to continue, I mean, like this, it's if the script notices that the player checked all the buttons. This is a way that we found to control for making sure that the participants always answer all the like questions,
Hmm.
right? The only one that we don't do that is demographics because sometimes they don't want to disclose
Yeah.
information. But uh, attitudinal or whatever questions, that is part of the game. Sometimes we do that, but that's important for you to know because if there is a research design that everybody can choose not to answer and missing data is going to be common, we need to disable this system
Yeah.
of controlling for participant response rate.
It's after 12 right
Okay,
Lunchtime.
so let's
now.
close
For
here.
lunch.
We did a great job.
Yeah,
We
this is
talked
good.
about all the systems in the pre-test, which is similar to post-test, and then
Yeah.
we'll go into.
So you want to pause the recording, I guess would be a good thing to stop.
Let me go where it is. Oh, here, here, here.